on the way up, someone had helped us fix a puncher, or we'd help somebody else fix a puncher. So, as I said, the punters and the bands were very much mixed together, you know, which is the way it should be, I think, you know.
You know, you put a cross-section of the whole country into Thurles and you're going to get some great scenes.
The trains have started to come into Thurles, and you know, back then there was guys with long hair and dreadlocks and beards and boots and badly dressed, rough to say the least of it. And we weren't used to that, like it's a very civilised town.
No one knew what to expect. I arrived in Dublin Airport, lashed home for a minute, and then drove myself down to Feile and arrived into the main street in Thurles, which was like the fall of Rome. And I'll take those images to my grave.
It was mayhem, you know. I thought Thurles was bad, and it was bad. But just driving through Thurles was bad in terms of like it was chaos.
And just the thousands of bodies everywhere. Like it was just the church. Like you couldn't see down the road.
It was our Woodstock.
Actually,
yeah, it was our Woodstock.
Yeah, that's what I was very saying.
Yeah.
It was worse. I reckon it was worse than Woodstock. I swear to God.
We came in on the ferry from England and drove up from Cork, and everything was fine, no problem, and then you just hit the square, and it took us about 3 hours to get through the square.
I remember driving into Thurles to go to get to the stadium, and it was hilarious. It's the only time I ever remember people tripping over vehicles as the vehicles were moving. I mean, you would literally have, I can't remember how many times people literally fell on our car as it was moving.
We'd had like a pretty big hit a few months earlier, and it was like, I suppose everyone who knew the band, and especially everyone from Cork, just started like banging on the side of the van and kind of singing the song. And it just took us hours to get through. People were passing in, flagging the cider and through the window and kind of stuff. And fellas we knew were like hopping in, who didn't have tickets for the gig, were hopping into the back of the van, and it was just like pure shenanigan time.
I think Jerry Ryan said that it was Thurles was referred to as the Devil's Playground, I think, by a local priest that weekend on the first. So I mean, I don't think the town knew what had hit it. We didn't know what was going on, but it was great.
Yeah.
And you look down and just crowds walking up.
Yeah.
You were just standing there in
Throngs, like just crazy.
Different heads there, the punks,
yeah.
different
Different, yeah.
styles even back then. If you even look back at the pictures, like now, kind of a lot of people look the same, even style, but back then you had different types.
You had the heavy metal, you had
punks,
there was no like
punks.
there was no high heels and miniskirts.
No, none of that.
Completely Doc Martens, runners.
All pure grunge, yeah.
You know, at the time, the early 90s, it was a great time to be in a band, because in Manchester you had the Manchester scene with the Happy Mondays and the Stone Roses, and then over in America you had the grunge thing, you had with Nirvana, and then we still had bands like the Ramones and the Cramps and stuff doing the circuit. So it was a really great time to be touring and be in a band anyway, and I think Feile was really a celebration of that,
The campsites, we didn't have any luxuries. It wasn't like Electric Picnic back then. When anybody came to Thurles, they were all on a level playing pitch. That meant that whether you were rich or poor, or whether you had money to spend or not, the simple fact was the facilities were the same for everyone.
Then I arrived at the door of Feile, the main gate of the grounds, beeped the horn. I just said, I'm here, ready to do a gig, and they said, yeah, throw it up inside the car. So no car park pass, no laminate, nothing.
So I guess there was no VIP, it wasn't a boutique festival, it was everybody mucking in,
It was just everyone was out to enjoy themselves, and there was no makeup.
Nobody cared what anyone else was doing. Everyone just got on with their own stuff, like.
Yeah.